Okay, well sometimes, you know, you try your best with the best of intentions and in the best possible way, but it doesn't work. And that's what's happened here. I've cleaned my mass airflow sensor, or MAF, as a part of a regular routine. I've cleaned it many times before like this and it's worked perfectly. However, this time it didn't work. And this was part of my work for the 2020 roadworthy or pink slip work. As I say, the car was running absolutely perfectly before I cleaned this. Yeah, I've cleaned it exactly the same way before and it's worked. Part of this video is missing. It's around about the start. We come into this video and you know, a lot of the work and diagnosis or the finding out of the rough idling has already been done, but that video vanished when the phone just sort of stopped recording by itself. There was a lot of oil and grease in the intake from the mass airflow sensor, or from the air filter, all the way to the idle position sensor. Let's see, I'm just referring to my notes. This problem was fixed by cleaning the entire intake manifold from the tube this sits into. It's got two small screws. You undo them and clean that out. In other words, the cavity that the mass airflow sensor sits in, the entire throttle body, the rubber and plastic parts, and also the throttle body. Could it even have been the PCV valve? But anyway, some sort of communication, it seemed, between the mass airflow sensor and throttle position sensor, and anywhere in between. So I'll turn you over now. I'll leave you with the following video work. Okay, before the video I did check to see whether or not it was this gasket I put underneath the mass airflow sensor. I'm usually fairly thorough, and I would have removed this once the engine was running rough. However, I did reinstall it just to be sure, and I'll start it up now and we'll see that the engine's running well with the gasket. So while I've got the chance, I'll just point out that the gasket is that rubber O-ring just there. Okay, and now without the gasket. Okay, so let's watch the video. This work was done a couple of weeks ago with the rough idling developing after the washing of the mass airflow sensor. Next is the mass airflow sensor. This is very an important part of the running of the engine. This is the early day of fuel injection. This is a very advanced fuel injection engine. It's got direct fuel injection. So there's the, just focus that, there's the fuel rail, and the fuel comes from the tank along this metal rail here, the square rail, and the injectors are under that, so they fire straight into the head, into the top of the combustion chamber. And this is what the computer uses to read how much fuel to spray into the cylinders, so the cleaner this is, the better economy and power you'll have. For this one, the keys are out of the ignition. Okay, so for this one, there's a piece of metal there, a clip, and I'll just show you that has to be spread out that way, and this one the other way, and I can remove it. Okay, always throw any sort of anything that comes off your engine inside a tub. Okay, there it is. Alright. So don't drop it whatever you do, because you may not find this part. You'd have to go to a wrecker's. So we want to clean with a brush very carefully those the metal area on top. So I'm just going up and around the metallic area. Don't touch it with the wooden part of the brush, only the bristles. Just don't drop it while you've got it out, whatever you do. Just keep that solution clean. And try and get on the other side of the uprights there. Okay, so that's a good gasket. I can't really see any gap anywhere where air could flow around in here to for these nibs to measure. However, I'll put it back together and see how it goes. Okay. Yeah, so that's what I used. 3 layers of that, and I just used this scalpel. You can probably hear it a little bit, the stumbling engine. Sort of a vroom, vroom, vroom. Well, it's the strangest thing. This is not actually connected anywhere with an electrical cable. However, it seems that when I touched this, it just changed everything. That sits just there inside the housing for the air filter. But only other variables are that's the chamber that goes to the engine. That's from the air filter. There's a hole there. Probably if I turn it around, see better. So that the air goes in there, goes past the sensor. The sensor sits just inside there, and there's the back of it. I'll try and take this off. This seems to have thread lock on it, but all this seems okay. It's just when I touch this, so it's a little bit dented here, and I'll put it back together. So we'll see. Okay, this is how I'm going to try and fix it. I did look up one of my old videos from about 5 years ago, where I made a video of how to increase the idle rate. And there's a small nut underneath here, and you can use that to turn a thread within a thread, if you like, and increase the height of that under that closing gap there. Just try and focus that. Might be a bit better, possibly. There we go. So you can see there's a nut there. You undo that and a thread underneath, and that pushes up the idle rate. What I wanted to point out was the amount of oil that builds up, that comes in from the engine there. Even inside the throttle body, it's try and position that light a bit. Very, very dirty in there. Okay, I'm now cleaning the whole throttle body. So hopefully, but I don't think so. They could fix it. Okay, well, now all of the throttle body is all clean. I can't do any more cleaning. I cleaned the that metal screen on the inside of the air cleaning box. So I start it up now, and if it doesn't work, then it's definitely the mass airflow sensor, and I will have to replace it. I can no longer recommend cleaning on a regular basis the mass airflow sensor. I did put out some videos, but I can't recommend it anymore. Maybe clean it every, I don't know, 5 years or so, or clean it once and just leave it at that. If it's running properly, if there's no problems, just leave the mass airflow sensor alone. So I'll start it up now. I have increased the revs, so I've adjusted the gap. So we'll see what happens. For that matter, I can't recommend putting grease around the fittings to seal air leaks anymore, because I was at the time I was used to carburetors. Now I understand the intricate nature, you could say, of the sensors in the computer. Okay, I'll go and start it up. At this stage it does seem to be fixed. Two possible causes. I noticed that this is an earth wire here. Just trying to focus that. That's an earth wire, that black one. And this could be earthed. I know this is aluminium or aluminum. And I did clean the inside of this. So, and there was like a dusty white residue, or a type of aluminium rust on the inside. So so that's one thing. I know that the cleaning the metal grate in front didn't seem to improve things. I also sprayed like a cleaner down inside here, so that also could have done something to improve it. You can see that's a bit cleaner there. Okay, so let's try and get a shot of underneath there for you. So we'll try this one, put that there, and you can see, you might be able to see there that that's a lot cleaner. Okay, so that's two possible causes. So before you go out and get a brand new MAF sensor, mass airflow sensor, I recommend cleaning the grate, the inside of this metal assembly here, undo the front of it where the two screws are, where this drops into, and just clean around the whole thing with a towel. I've cleaned on the inside here and the throttle body. Okay, so these things are extremely fine tolerance, finicky, you could say, types of setups. So that's how I fixed this one. I have increased the idle, and again, that's a better shot of it. I've got a little spanner there, and you undo the nut and tighten up the underneath portion of it there with a little screwdriver, and that'll bring that up, that gap, and increase your revs per minute. Okay, since having this problem, about the only thing that really makes any difference is spraying. I don't recommend degreaser. I'd use something like a throttle body cleaner, but I've got degreaser. It's better than nothing, right? And just lifting up the throttle and just spraying it around in there. I'm running out now. And then I start it up. So I'll finish off this part of the video. There's a chance I might release a video just on the problem developing and fixing of this throttle body. With this video, take great care if you do adjust the idle to make sure that the lock nut is in place so that the idle screw won't change, because I've experienced it myself. With the movement of the engine, the thread can wind up and increase very rapidly the revs per minute. I've had it happen to me once, and it's quite frightening. So just make sure that lock nut is in place. So when this problem developed, just in summary, all I did was just clean the mass airflow sensor, and that exposed what I think at this point is a dirty throttle body. To fix this problem, I took it all apart. I cleaned on the inside, and there's a section with two screws you can undo, and I took that apart and cleaned inside there. All of this inside here. The throttle body, I gave 3 shots of the good old degreaser. That's all I had left. I started off with throttle body spray. I did spray inside here, and inside these pipes. Having done that work, the engine does have sort of, I'd describe it as a turbine type of sound. That's the sound of the air coming in and the and throughout the engine and out the exhaust. So I've heard that sound before, and that means that this engine's running very well. And just last but not least, in this section of the video, I will not be including cleaning the mass airflow sensor anymore in the yearly maintenance program for the registration, yearly pink slip or roadworthy registration process. Last thing I'd like to say here is that when I cleaned the mass airflow sensor there, it must have exposed some type of communication between the mass airflow sensor body and the throttle body. I notice these are grounded, so you've got the mass airflow sensor and the throttle position sensor. So these two bodies are probably out of sync.